All right, we are live. We are live. We're live and recording. Well, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kava Club podcast. You guys already know I'm Will. I'm the host of this show. I'm very excited today. I have a very special guest. One of my Polynesian sisters, all the way from New Zealand. I'm very passionate, very excited for her to be able to come on today and share her story. I'm very grateful. For everybody out there watching this for the first time, please show some love and support. Please like and subscribe to my channel. And everybody out there that's been supporting and watching my videos, shout out and mad love to all you guys. Thank you for all the support you guys show me. And of course, as you guys watching this, please, I would love to hear your feedback. Please drop a comment below, share your thoughts. But nevertheless, I'm gonna go back to this guest. I'm excited. I'm excited for her. She's one of our most inspiring and powerful Polynesian sisters from New Zealand. She is a court collection registry officer. She's an inspiring model, and she is a vegan. She's a vegan. So I'm very excited to dive into her life story and have her share her life story and ask her questions about her life and experiences that she's gone through. I'm excited to learn and also grow today. So, but I'll let her introduce herself real quick. So go ahead. It's all you.
Hi everyone. My name is Agnes Vaea. Many people know me by my middle name, Whanga. I'm from Auckland, New Zealand, and I'm Tongan, full Tongan.
Boom, full Tongan.
Full Tongan.
All right. So, and like I said, Agnes, thank you. I'm very grateful for the opportunity for you to come in and taking the time to do this. I'm very grateful. I'm just ready excited to dive into this. So, but let's go get it started. So, the first question I'm going to ask you is, how did you grow up?
So how did I grow up? So I was born in New Zealand. I was born in Auckland, New Zealand, and then we moved back to Tonga with my parents. I am the third eldest child. So we moved back to Tonga, and then we went to primary in Tonga for a little bit, and then I came back here to Auckland for high school and university. So my parents basically sent my older sister and I back to New Zealand for school. For high school, and then they stayed in Tonga because they worked. So they worked. They both had government jobs in Tonga.
Okay.
So they worked there, and I went to school here, and it was actually really hard, living away from your parents.
Yeah.
Especially at a young age. I think I was around 13. Yes, 13, 14, when my older sister and I came here for school. So I guess I grew up with a very traditional and conservative family. Yeah. Education is, very important in my family. So the whole goal for us coming here to high school is just to get a better chance in life, especially to have a better chance of getting into university and having a good life, and in terms of being independent. So basically I grew up in a conservative family with the goal. My dad always told us that, for us to be successful, we need to be independent. And for us to be independent, we need to be educated. So I kind of grew up with that mindset of, that traditional mindset of going to school, getting into uni, getting a good job, being independent, having my own things. So yeah, I grew up in and also very religious as well.
Yes.
So growing up here, Yeah, it was actually tough in high school. Only because, coming to New Zealand from Tonga, I mean, I was born here in New Zealand, and just growing up, it's like, oh, like, you don't exactly have the Kiwi accent, but you go to school here. And, just the whole idea of coming from Tonga, I guess, was like looked down upon here in Auckland, which was strange because I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I never
why do you
thought
think?
of it.
Yeah, well, I never. That's the first time I've heard that. I'm not from New Zealand, but that's the first time I've ever heard of that before.
I guess it's not really spoken about here, but the idea that that you come from Tonga to New Zealand to go to school or like have a scholarship, play rugby, do law. I think that whole idea of coming from Tonga is just it's not spoken about enough. But I know that people that were born here, that actually grew up here, kind of look down at people that come from Tonga. So yeah, so so it was actually a struggle for my sister and I to settle without our parents. We were like homesick. We were homesick for like the first few years. But then again, my parents were sent off to school here as well. So for us, that was quite the norm to be sent off to school, to have a better chance. But for other people, it was like not, it wasn't the same thing. So that was it was different. But I think, honestly, looking back, we did settle in well. And, my parents would visit now and then. But yeah, it was a very traditional childhood, I would say.
So, I got a chance to talk to you before this podcast, and one thing I recognize about you, you're very independent and strong, and vocal, powerful woman. Just based on my conversation from you. So I want to ask you: what was the hardest thing growing up in the traditional conservative family?
Oh my God.
So, because I know, number one, there's a lot of people watching this right now. I know there's a lot of men and especially a lot of girls out there growing up in, especially Polynesian and Tongan families where it's very structured and especially if you grow up very traditional in your home. So, and I know that could be tough because when you're independent, you have to be free. You have to be free to be who you are. You have to be free to speak your thoughts, speak your ideas, share what you're passionate about, make your own life decisions. And that's the beauty and power of independent, which I am a big advocate for. I always encourage people to do what makes them happy, to be themselves. It's, at the end of the day, it's their life. All right, and life is too short not to be happy. So I'm very interested to hear from your experience, because I know that could be tough if you grow up in a very conservative and traditional home. So I want to ask you, that's the question I want to ask you. What was your experience, and what was the hardest thing of being a woman, Polynesian Tongan woman, and growing up in a traditional and conservative family? At the same time, you're trying to find yourself, you're trying to be independent.
Find myself. Gosh, there's like so many things. But I think one thing that I can think of from the top of my head, because honestly, as a Polynesian woman, we do go through a lot of challenges in life. But I think, growing up, personally for me, I didn't know who I was. I was confused, lost, didn't know, like I said, I grew up with the mentality of just growing up to be independent, getting a good education, graduating from university, just that whole mindset. And that was honestly just my goal in life, was just to be independent and also provide for my family, look after my parents. Marriage was actually never on my mind. but also I think the most difficult thing coming from that, from my type of background, is just branching out and trying something new. Because so last year, I was supposed to go back to do my postgrad. So I wanted to go back to do my master's and just work full time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted to challenge myself and be busy. You know, I wanted to find myself, I think is more the word that I'm looking for. I wanted to find myself and push myself, because honestly, I didn't see what my purpose was in life.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mom got sick. She got sick around 2019,
Mm-hmm.
just before Christmas. And I think that was the most, yeah, I can't even describe that experience, you know, just to see a parent being ill is just one of the hardest things, you know, you can never imagine.
Yeah.
To see, you know, the strongest person that you've known, you know, to nurture you and just look after you, be sick, is that I think that was actually the hardest thing I have ever experienced personally
Mm-hmm.
and as a family. So I actually have, so there's 7 of us.
Mm-hmm.
So I have so I have 2 older sisters, 2 younger sisters, and 2 younger brothers. And so to witness that as a family was just, you know, like it was so difficult, which was also another eye opener for me, just to, you know, you when things like that happen in your life, you just realize who your real family is and who will always be there for you, I guess, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And personally, it was like, as a family, it was difficult to go through that, only because she got sick. And you know, if you know most Tongan families, I'm sure we all know that, like, our mothers wear the pants
Yeah.
with everything.
That's true.
Yeah. So when she got sick, we were just literally did not know what to do. So I'm so blessed that I have my sisters, you know, like I'm so blessed that I have them, because honestly, I honestly don't know what I would have done because she got sick in Tonga. So we had to bring her here just to get the medical care that she needs to bring her over to New Zealand. So she had a stroke. And, you know, with stroke patients, you have to deal with them, you know, as soon as possible. Otherwise, it just becomes long-term and too difficult. So that whole process of just bringing her over here, and just with her getting sick, just, you know, that was a whole nother journey for me. And that was only last year. I couldn't speak about it. And I was just so, I couldn't speak about it. But in saying that, it helped me find myself as a person, and not just with what my family expected me to become. So with that happening, with my mom getting sick, obviously I was just, you know, too busy. Like, I didn't have time to, like, I'm also a daughter, a sister, an aunt. You know, as a Polynesian person, you know, we may have full-time jobs, you know, in the Balangi world, in the westernized world, you know, but we also have roles that are not acknowledged enough, you know, and at home, it's not acknowledged enough. You know, the things that we do as Polynesian people for our family, and it's just, So I had a whole nother life with my family, just, you know, looking after my mom, tending for her, and just making sure that she was, you know, she was fine. And also lockdown, COVID-19 hit last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I was honestly struggling with just mentally, emotionally, like,
Mhm.
and so I was thinking, this is COVID, the whole corona COVID-19 thing is here, what is my purpose in life? My mom's sick. um what have I been doing this whole time in my life? Am I actually happy? What am I doing? Like, is this what I want to look back, and see myself doing? Um, and then I was like, okay, so if you are not able to, go back to do your postgrad to do, because I wanted to do my master's, um, if you're not able to do that, what else can you do? What else can you become to push yourself? There's heaps of other options out there. um what are you good at? And I'm always the type of person where I like to push myself.
Mhm.
um I like to try new things. um so yeah, I did modeling. So that's how I started the whole modeling thing, was yeah, just being me, I guess. So
So
that whole,
you started modeling last year during COVID? Was that the first time you
yes,
started modeling? Oh, okay.
yeah. So that's, I think, and that was a whole nother journey,
Yeah.
with my family, and having to turn down jobs because I'm brown, and just the
Yeah.
whole, making sure that you're dressed accordingly. And yeah, but then the modeling, like modeling here in New Zealand, that was a whole nother journey. But before so when I first started modeling, I don't know if you know, do you know Loms Brown? Lomas Brown,
No.
the singer? Oh, okay. So he's like a singer here in New Zealand. Lomas Brown, yeah. So I did one of his music clips. He's like a local New Zealand artist here. So I did one of his music clips, and just, yeah, it was like a love story that I was
Yeah.
in. So that was
Okay.
like a whole nother journey that I had to, to tell my parents about. Um, which yeah, so they were actually okay about it. Like, not as, I didn't think that they'd react
Yeah. Well,
the
what
way
was your
that
reaction?
they did.
What was your reaction? What was your reaction when you first told him that you wanted to be a model?
Um, my dad read my contract like 10 times and was basically like looking at me like, what a weird child. Like, you've gone to university, like you have a career going for you, and then you just want to get up and be a model. Like, well, who is this? So yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So he came around eventually. So I
yeah.
and so I did that music clip, and also with it, I think it's ongoing. Like, I can't just nail it down to one difficult experience, because
Mhm.
it's ongoing, with especially with the jobs I'm getting with modeling. Like, modeling, oh my gosh, like lingerie and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like I had to put my foot down for one of them. So I had to say no to one of those jobs, um, only out of respect for my parents.
Yeah.
Um, and now, so yeah, so I asked my mum, and she was like, "Oh, nah, that's not gonna happen." Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I was like, "Okay, fair enough." Like, I've just, this is only the beginning of this journey, and from everything that we've gone through as a family last year,
Yeah.
I won't do it this time. But if it comes up again, I'm going to do it,
Yeah.
you know. And I think that's self-growth as an individual, especially as a Polynesian girl. You know, that's actually a big deal, because we most of the time we just sit and play this character that they're supposed to we're supposed to play like a brown Polynesian girl that goes to church every Sunday and, does chores and looks after their family, this and that. When in fact, sometimes you need to stand your ground, and, and it's not being rebellious. It's called growth.
Yeah.
And that's
so you told your parents that okay, I won't do it this time, but next time it comes up, you already told them I'm going to do it, so they already know that already.
Yeah.
And how was the reaction when you said that?
She just looked at me and looked away, because she knew that when I'm determined, or when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
So you became the black sheep.
And honestly, Will, it's like, no, I prefer being very forward and straight up than beating around the bush, because that's just it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And I say this all the time to my little nieces and nephews, and my younger cousins. Like, you can go and live up to anyone's expectations, but if you're not going to do what you want, that's not growth. You're never going to grow as a person, and you're never going to be happy, most importantly. And I think the whole culture and tradition, in a way hides that, because of it promotes, being yourself, an individual, which is wrong.
I think what you're saying, what you mean is like, because when it comes to growth and happiness, it's a self priority that you have to take care of yourself first. And we, in the Tongan culture, it's taking care of everybody else before you take care of yourself. So, and that's the difficulty. That's what's hard about navigating growth and happiness in the culture, because we get taught in the culture that to be a good daughter or son, you have to meet everybody else's expectations. You have to do what everybody else wants for you to do, but there's nothing left. There's no focus on you or what you want to do.
Yeah.
And your happiness. And that's I know the reason why I bring this up, because I know that's one of the toughest challenges of growing up in the Tongan culture, especially if your parents are very traditional, because that's how we're taught as kids, is you have to fulfill your responsibility to everyone else, and there's no concern about your own well-being and your own happiness, because in the Tongan culture, to be happy means you take care of your family, you take care of everybody else. That's what happiness means in the Tongan culture.
Yeah. See, but I think that it could be both, because
yes, of course, it can be both. It can be both.
It could be both, but there's a limit. You can be burnt out and attempt to look after your family, but how can you look after your family when you can't even look after yourself? Is basically what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
And oh my God, I sound like my father. I'm turning into my dad. Oh my gosh, I don't know if that's a good thing, but no, but yeah, I know what you mean. So, but what I want to highlight is the whole aspect of growth. So we can look after our family and our parents.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm basically trying to say is that if you're not looking after yourself and your mental health and your mental well-being, if that's not looked after first, then you're not in the right state to look after your own family or your own friends. Because honestly, like I'm the biggest family person, like, and I also think that's a huge reason why I'm not married, or like why I'm like single.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fine with that. And I know that's the Tongan side of me, is that, I'd rather look after myself and my family than have my own family, which is like another topic.
Yeah. Come on, I'm gonna write it down my notes. We can talk about that later.
No. but I think that I don't want people to take this out of context, but what I'm basically trying to say is you can't be, and I learned this, I just want to highlight the fact that I'm saying this from my own experience. You know, so when my mom was sick, when my mom was in hospital, like most of the time last year, she was in hospital. So I'd go to work, I'd come to the hospital, I was like burnt out, like I'd go to sleep, I'd like get a few hours sleep, wake up, go to work, come back to the hospital, few hours sleep, go back to work. And it was a cycle, and I was burnt out, and I wasn't all there. Like my mental state wasn't all there. Like I was emotional, physically tired, I wasn't sleeping, and I was also I was really sad, is basically what I'm saying. And you know, how can that, looking back now, how can that person look after another sick person if they're not in the right state of mind to, you know, to look after another sick person? So that's where I'm coming from, is that you have to be able to be mentally fit and healthy to look after other people. But in order to do that, you have to grow and identify, you know, what got you here, and why you feel this certain way, and then it'll work for both.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally relate. Number one, thanks for sharing that. I think that's something that it's powerful, and a lot of people going through that, is because I feel like that's one of the difficult challenges being a Polynesian and Tongan woman or man, is finding yourself and finding your happiness of what you want to do out of your life within your own family, and the cultural applications they place upon you. Because you know, and in my own experience, you know, being who I am today, I had to, when it comes to like doing what makes me happy in my self journey of what I'm trying to do right now for my life, there was a lot of times where I had to, you know, say no to the things that my family asked of me. And what happened was, one of the hardest thing, and the thing that saddened me the most was when I decided to look after myself first. When I decided, after growing up most of my life, everything I did, whether my job, my paycheck, you know, when you get paid, give your check to give your check to your family. Everything I did when I grew up as a son,
Family, yeah,
was everything I did was for my family. But like you said, there was a point of time where I was doing everything my family asked of me. I was working, I got paid, I helped whatever they needed from me financially, I gave it. No concern about myself or what I want to do for my life. But then it got to a point in my life where, like you said, I wasn't happy. I was just going through this cycle of waking up, doing the same thing over and over, and going to, you know, fulfilling my family responsibility. But inside, as a man, as a human being, I was sad. I was depressed, and I felt like my life wasn't going nowhere. I didn't feel like I had a purpose in life, and that's when I started to learn about self-love, self growth, and one of the hardest things for me was when I decided to go down that path of, okay, I'm going to take care of myself first from now on. Was when, you know, my family was like, you know, the Tongans, you know, when you do you call you tai ofa? You know, they're like tai ofa. You know, whenever I remember this like it was yesterday. Like the very first time where I decided to do something for myself, I said, no, I'm sorry. I want to focus on my career now and put my resources that I have into what I want to do for my life. I remember that was like the first response. Tamasi tai ofa. And for me, the way, and I remember, I'm lucky, I'm so happy, I'm so grateful I had mentors that you know, that when I was struggling with that, to finding that balance. Okay, how do I find myself and be happy, but at the same time, how do I keep my family happy as well? Because I don't want to, because I love my family at the end of the day. You know, I don't want to burn any bridges. But I remember one of my mentors, I want to share this to everybody. He always told me this. This is what he said. Look, at the end of the day, when you he asked me a question. If you're happy, like, he told me, like, can you be a great son if you're not happy? I told him, no. Can you be a great father if you're not happy? I was like, no. Can you be a great uncle? Can you be a great nephew? So he always told me, if I know it's gonna be hard. That's why he told me, I know it's gonna be hard for you to do the things, and your family may just be disappointed. But at the end of the day, like, how if I'm not, I don't have kids right now, but how can I be a great dad if I'm going to be unhappy dad? How can I raise my kids being unhappy? How am I going to go to work being unhappy? And then and I realized, when you're unhappy, a lot of that negative energy flows into everybody else and everything else you have for your life. And that's why I have a lot of friends I see that they're fulfilling everything they're given to do as a Tongan or as a Polynesian, but they're not happy. And what happens is, when you're not happy, you're just stuck. You don't try anything new. You don't try to progress. You don't try to progress in anything in your life. And then it's a cycle that you just live in. And sadly, for a lot of Tongans, they live this cycle their whole life. And then it becomes something that carries on and into the next generation, all these other cycles of broken homes and depressed and all the things that we see a lot of families struggle within the Polynesian community. So, and that's why, like, for me, I always is, if at the end of the day, if you're not happy, like you said, if you're not happy, and if you're not happy with your life and you're not happy with yourself, then it's going to be very hard for you to do everything else. And if you do anything else, you're only going to do like 50% or 40% effort, because you're not happy with yourself anyway. So that's the way I always see it.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
So for you, I want to ask you, what made you decide to be a model anyway? Like, what inspired you to become a model? Like, how did that idea pop up?
I honestly just wanted to find myself.
Okay.
And I wanted to try something new, and to try something that I never thought I'd be able to do.
Oh.
I wanted to challenge myself. Is
okay.
the actual yeah. So and I also think with modeling, it's not just having that label of being a model. I don't really like putting like labels on things, only because I think you can branch out of that whole modeling experience, only because you can touch other women out there who have insecurities about being a full-figured Polynesian woman, or so I think with me, the whole idea of being a model is that it's more like becoming an activist. Like how you like touch other like you said, social media is a very powerful platform. And I think for us, or for me, I don't want to say I speak on for everyone else, but for me, I've never really been confident with with the way I look. I never wanted to. I've always wanted to look like girls, like in music clips and magazines, and I honestly was never happy with my image, and I always had insecurities, with my body, and having the brown nose, the features, and just especially going to school here in Auckland, where there's like very where there's a lot of like European girls, and they're quite thin, and just growing up around that type of society, I think I was not confident, and I think it's not talked about enough. It's okay to be not to be okay with your body, and it's okay to highlight what you're insecure about. If you don't like the way you look, only because other girls need to hear that, and if it's not addressed and if it's not talked about enough, then people aren't educated. People don't know that it's actually like I'll give you an example. So like with modeling, it just made me realize how I am like not a confident performer at all. And it's like, you go in there with all these other girls that are like, much smaller and like, they've had more experience. They're all I've gotten to know them now and they're lovely girls. But I think just as a Polynesian woman, that alone is a challenge. And I think that just being like going into modeling, I just want to let like other brown girls know that you're not alone, and you don't have to live up to those standards of being perfect, and no one's perfect. We're all doing our best, and if you are you have to learn to love yourself and find yourself. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with highlighting the fact that we all, have insecurities about our bodies or like our image. And I really hope that, if other brown girls are listening out there, or just, just women in general, like, being a model, like, it doesn't mean that, we come up with this perfect image, I did a music clip for Loms Brown here in Auckland last year, a few months ago, and I don't know if you've heard of the Tokoso here in Auckland. Tokoso.
Yeah. I think I heard it. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah. Yep.
So they directed it. So there's C, Unufe, Sam, and Malcolm. So there's three of them. So they directed the music clip by Loms Brown. It's called "Tell Me." It's a song. You should check it out. It's a cool song.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah. So when they asked me to do the music clip, they also have so one of the Tokouso boys. They have he has a sister called Lita. She does. She's a designer, so she does Unufe designs. Check out her page as well on Instagram.
Yep.
Yeah. So when we did the video clip, so they were asking me, "Oh, do you want to get your hair and makeup done?" And I declined it, and I was like, "No, it's fine. I'll do it myself." And they were lovely enough to let me do that, to trust me enough to just let me do my own hair and makeup. And if you're a girl, how big a big deal it is, to have your hair and makeup done, especially for functions and parties, like occasions. It's such a big deal. And so when we were filming, when we were about to film the music clip, I was like, yeah, like, is it okay if I do my own hair and makeup? And the reason why I wanted to do my own hair and makeup is for the whole purpose of why I want to start I kind of wanted to start my modeling career, I wanted to look like myself. I didn't want to go on there and look like a different person, because firstly, I don't look like that.
Yeah.
And secondly, it's okay to not look like anyone else but yourself. You are yourself for a reason. You're beautiful in your own way, and it's okay to show your flaws. Don't hide them. And I do thank I thanked Lita. She's the designer. She was the whole hair and makeup person that was supposed to organize it for the music clip. And I honestly, I'm just grateful that she let me have that moment in terms of just letting me do my own hair and makeup, because it's like a form of just standing up to society norms. You see all these girls like going in to do hair and makeup for photo shoots and pageants and trying to look their best, which is good. Like, I commend that. But personally, for me, the whole stance on not doing, not getting a professional to get my hair and makeup done is because I wanted to send that message to younger girls. I want my younger sisters and my younger cousins, nieces, just, just girls, and especially my brown women, my Polynesian girls. Like, you don't have to always look your best. You can just be yourself, and just just be natural and be yourself. You don't have to live up to that type of level where you have to be perfect, and cover your flaws up. No, like, just live your life, and if it is the right thing for you, it'll flow. And which is what happened on that music clip. And just, yeah, so grateful. Honestly, so grateful. Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to ask you because I'm number one, that I'm glad you brought that up, because that was actually one of the topics I want to ask you. As soon as you mentioned you were a model, I wanted to go and talk about like Polynesian women and then they're having their body image issues. And number one, when I see, for me, I love seeing my Polynesian women. Like right now, you see a lot, a lot of them are being models, are coming up in the open and showcase their own bodies and just feeling beautiful. Because based on my own conversations with a lot of the girls that I know, my good friends, also my family members, the Polynesian females, like they struggle with their image of the body. And I'm interested to hear your perspective on this. And then I know one right now that she's a model, and I remember I had a conversation with her, and she said, and it's funny, a lot of the models, the Polynesian models I know that decided to be a model, all of them that I know said that the reason why they wanted to be a model because they wanted to be confident in their own body, because they grew up their whole life being insecure. And I know how our Polynesian culture is, I understand like being respectful and making sure that wear clothes to be respectful. I understand that aspect of it, but also I'm a big believer. Just if you whatever because whatever you want to wear, as long as it's appropriate to the time and setting and the area where you're in. If you want to go out, go to the club and have fun, that's fine. Like, go out and have some fun. Whatever you want to do. But I remember she told me that growing up as a Tongan woman, you were always told to cover up. Always cover up everything, always cover up. And then she told me that in her mind growing up, that every time she was told to cover up, and you combine that with comparing yourself to everybody else, like you say, you're always comparing yourself to the other girls. It kind of like condition you to dislike your own body as a Polynesian woman. Especially now, like when I don't know if you experience this. You ever see Polynesians go to the beach and swim? Like all the girls wear like big shirts and like they literally cover up. They cover up, right? And for me, like, I mean, I didn't really think of it as a kid, but for me, like, I don't like if you want to wear like a swimsuit. I mean, I feel like that's nothing wrong if you want to wear a swimsuit as a girl, as a woman, right now. But she told me, she said, whenever I wore clothes, that's what she told me based on my conversation. I just felt like that my body wasn't good enough to show. And I grew up with that mentality as a woman. And that the reason why I wanted to be a model, because it was the first time for me to showcase my body and to love my body. And I wanted to empower, and that's what she said. I wanted to empower everybody. So I'm interested to hear your perspective, because you're a model now. Did you grow up? Because I know your parents are very conservative, that they want you to cover up. They don't like the fact that you're going to go and showcase your body. But do you feel like culturally, of Tongan women told to cover up. Do you feel like that causes a lot of girls to dislike and have body issues with their own body? Do you feel like part of that comes from like the culture? In your experience?
Yes, I agree. And it's fun. It's ironic that you brought that up because I was coming from that perspective. And see, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because I didn't even address it because I assumed that, you know, people had already, you know, grown up with that and known that, you know, you had to look a certain way, especially to you know, if you go to church, you have to cover up, you have to wear gear, you have to, you know, look respectable, and you have to wear your Sunday best, you
Yeah,
know, your best
and that's
dress in
fine.
the closet, like every
Yeah.
Sunday. Yeah. And then, yeah, going to the beach with like your brothers and your family, you have to wear, you know, like baggy shorts, probably wear my dad's like baggy board
Yeah.
shorts.
And for all my cousins, I mean, and I remember as when I used to make fun of my female cousins, you know, they would wear like the baggy shorts, right? Oh, you know, you're wearing. And I mean, as a kid, you never think about it, but I didn't realize like the psychological implications that affected them. I didn't, but you don't think about that growing up as a kid. I didn't realize that was happening until I had that conversation with that model. But yeah, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, yeah, just telling, you know, everyone to cover up and just having those standards where you have to dress a certain way, you know, or it looks bad on your parents, you know, or it looks bad on your mum because, you know, your mum's not telling you what you should wear and what you shouldn't wear. And I think it's ongoing, you know, it's ongoing.
Yeah, it's happening. Yeah.
And it still happens to me.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, like it's ongoing. You know, like you have to dress even to work when I go to work, because I my when I go to work, you know, my mom's always like, oh, are you wearing that? And it's like, you know, it has to be formal, and you know, you have to cover up, you have to be formal, covered up, and dressed to the occasion. Is, you know, is basically the dress code for me as a Polynesian girl, as a Tongan girl. But I think also if that's what you want to wear and that's what you're comfortable with, then do it.
Yeah.
And it's and don't let anyone tell you what to wear. You wear what you want to wear.
Yeah.
Because you know, you don't realize, like you said earlier, you don't realize the psychological effect it can have on a person mentally, especially with, you know, what you're taught growing up, what you see, what you hear. It stays with you.
Especially for girls.
And
Especially for the girls. Yeah. Especially for the girls.
Especially for us girls, yeah, it really stays with you, and it does play a huge role in like who you become in the future. And I think that's, you know, something we really need to be aware of when we're educating, you know, our younger cousins or like our younger nieces, nephews. We really need to speak about that and just allow them to become who they want to be, you know, wear what they want to wear. If you're a younger boy and you want to wear a dress, wear it, you know. It's be yourself. Like there's no limits to being or dressing to what you want to wear. And honestly, like I don't think it's ever going to stop in my family, you know, being told what to wear.
Yeah.
And covering up, I don't think it's ever going to stop. But like I said, with growth and you know, just being accountable, you know, being responsible, and just, you know, being an adult, you know, you need to stand your ground and just grow as a person, and, you know, tell them if that's what you want to wear, that's what you're wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, and how long for you? Like how long? Like I know you said that, you know, maybe a lot of Polynesians they struggle with their self-esteem when it comes to their body. Like for you, like what age did you really like how long did you always see yourself that way, and then what age did you finally decide, you know what, I'm gonna start, working on myself, and I'm gonna start loving my body?
Honestly, like just growing up as I think it really hit me when I came back, when I went to high school here. That's when I think that's when I was going through that whole phase of just feeling not good enough. Just not good enough to yeah. Like I think it's been ongoing. Like when I went to school, when I was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
the whole idea of just, being brown and, this, I wasn't, like I didn't grow up like skinny. I was always like a big girl, like I was
Yeah.
thick.
Yeah.
So that alone, I think just made me a little insecure. And just I honestly didn't feel good enough, as especially as a teenager when you're going through the whole puberty and
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And then yeah, and I think just growing up as in a conservative household, that didn't help either, because I'd be at home and I'm encouraged to, like, have your 3 meals a day, and it's healthy, it's good, don't lose any weight, it's good for you to, like, to be big, and
Yeah.
that how big is considered to be healthy. And then I'll go to school, and then it's like, everyone's like, oh my god, I'm so fat, like,
Yeah.
I need to lose weight. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, but I bought lunch, like, and everyone's just like, oh, like, I need to lose weight. And yeah, but yeah, I think and I think I stopped, I don't think I stopped. I think, I still have my days,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's an ongoing process with just working on myself. Just I think it's like I think my whole teenage years,
Mm-hmm.
that's when it started.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't say it ended, but I think it's an ongoing thing. And it's all in your head, someone could tell you. It's so funny because my agent, she's always like, you need to be confident when you're doing runway. you know you need to believe it. Like, you're walking on the runway and everyone wants to be you. You're this girl walking out in beautiful clothes and a beautiful dress, and everyone's looking at you, wanting to be you. So you need to be that person. You're beautiful, and just hyping me up. And she said to me, if anyone can tell you you're beautiful, but if you don't feel it, it'll show. So I guess, just working on myself, and just realizing to love myself, to be myself, is the biggest, is really important. And that's the biggest challenge, I think, as personally for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even when I go for jobs, like modeling jobs and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it's all in your head. Like, for me, it's all in my head.
Yeah.
Just doubting myself, and it's an ongoing battle to stop doubting myself and just do it. You're there for a reason. They picked you for a reason. So just you're not, just stop feeling that way and just do it. Do it and be happy about it. Like, it's you. You're doing it for yourself. Like, love yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, and that's something I just want, just show love to all the Polynesian sisters out there. Like, love, love you should love who you are. I know we're built different. I know we're built different than Polynesian.
Yeah,
We're built different, but you have to accept that we are different. But
exactly.
also, I also believe what makes us different is what makes us beautiful, because it's our indifferences is what makes us unique, and what makes us unique is what makes you beautiful. So I always, and it's just sad because sometimes I meet like Polynesian women, and then they're absolutely like beautiful. They got they're actually healthy. They got a really healthy body, but they think they're ugly. They think
Yeah.
I mean, they actually think that they're fat, and I'm like, you're not fat. You're not. You're, like, stop it. Like, what are you like? You stop. Look at LPC. Stop thinking.
Yeah.
You're talking crazy. And I see that like on social media, like all these beautiful girls, like they're like posting, oh my God, I'm not beautiful. I'm like, and for me, it's just crazy. But then I think about it. Wow, it's like
It is crazy.
It's crazy
It is crazy. Yeah.
how somebody could be physically attractive, beautiful on the outside, but mentally they think that they're the ugliest person, and it saddens me. And when I see that, especially when it comes from our own culture and Polynesian sisters, but for me, I know it always starts with like how they were taught of how they were supposed to be seen, or what beauty is, because if you tell somebody, hey, this is what you should look like, and then that's always going to be their comparison or their standard when it comes to beauty, instead of like what you said, just accepting who you are and feeling beautiful. Just be beautiful for who you are. Of course, you can definitely work on yourself and be healthy.
Yeah.
all right. So sometimes I just want to put out there. Sometimes you gotta stop eating, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, tuku kai pola. All right. So, hey, you gotta have discipline. That's what self-love is having discipline to do what you have to do to make sure you're happy.
Yeah, or you could just go vegan.
Oh yeah. We're about to jump into.
Or you could just go vegan, guys.
All right, but yeah, I just want to show some love to everybody out there, especially the Polynesian women out there. Yeah, just love yourself, and like you said, work on yourself, and just do what you have to do to make sure makes you feel happy. But I want to go back into something that I know we talked about. So, because I like how we're talking right now. We're talking about self-love. We're talking about self-esteem, making sure you love who you are and feeling beautiful. I think that's very powerful. But I want to ask you is because I'm very interested in your own experience growing up. So growing up in your own home, and in a very conservative and traditional home, I know when you grow up in that type of home and setting, there's always a lot of expectations that's placed on you, and of what type of person or woman that you need to be. So I want to ask you is in your journey of finding yourself, especially when it comes, in your opinion, to the culture, what were things that culturally that you grew up and you felt like, what, this is not helping me in my own happiness. It's not helping me, this expectation right now, because I know women have expectations. In the Tongan culture, we call it gender roles. Like there's a role of what women should play. Like you mentioned before, stay home, cook, clean. This is what women should do. Men, you need to be strong. You have to be masculine. You have to be powerful. You can't show weakness.
Yeah.
So, growing up, when you're working on yourself to find yourself, what were the things that you felt like growing up in the culture that you felt like, okay, this is something that's not helping me in my journey, that I had to let go? Because I feel like for me, there's a lot of things I had to let go that I was taught as a child. I remember growing up. For me, growing up, I realized that, like I mentioned earlier, taking care of myself first. I had to let go of the idea I have to put everybody else first, because that's my family taught me in the Tongan culture. Always take care of everybody else before you take care of yourself. That's what you should do. That's what love is self-sacrifice. The more you sacrifice yourself, that's more you love the show. But I realized that for me, that's something I have to let go in order for me to go in my own path to find myself and my own mental health and my own self-happiness. But I'm interested for you, what were the things that you had to let go, the ideologies, the expectations, the things that you were taught in your traditional conservative upbringing that you had to let go and form a new perspective, form your own new opinion of what you want to do for yourself so you can find yourself, so you can be happy? And I'm just interested to hear that from your life. from your own experience.
Okay, so you're just wanting my family's expectation for me.
Yeah, you feel like the way you grew up. What were things that you grew up before you thought that this is what I needed to be as a woman, but you realize, okay, I'm not happy being this being this person.
Yeah.
So I need to let that go and be this and be who I am. So I'm just interested in like what you were taught, what were the things that you grew up with. Yeah.
Honestly, with like my personal journey of working, modeling on the side, and just being a daughter first, I think the biggest expectation for me to be defined as successful is finding a good man. And
Gotcha.
I think the biggest issue would be marriage, So like, you could like, so for my family, so with me being, all these things that, I've done, I don't think that I would ever be defined as successful until I get married. And that's just an expectation from my family. But I also think a lot of girls can relate to that. Like a lot of people can relate to that.
Yes. Definitely.
We're taught to go, get a good education, graduate, get a good job, and then, be financially stable, and then find a very good husband, settle down and have kids. And that's one thing that really, like, I highly disagree with that. Like, I strongly disagree with that. Like, you don't have to settle down with get married and have the whole traditional marriage. That shouldn't be defined in the Tongan culture as successful. Like, like you could go and fly to the moon and back, and if you're not married yet, they're like, no, you're still not successful. Like, it's that's one thing I will not stand for. Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, I honestly think that is the last thing. That's the last straw for my parents, is for me to get married. Like, I could go and do all these amazing things for people, but if I'm not married, I'm not and apparently I'm not successful, or I haven't met their criteria yet, or whatever. But I'm just like, you know what? Like, if it happens, it happens. But I'm not gonna go out of my way to, just to settle with someone that I don't think is worth settling for. Like, if it happens, and I encourage this, to other people watching, like, we, our families and our friends and society expects us to find this, live this life and then find someone to settle down with, and have this, big white picket fence house, and live the dream and continue that. And I disagree with that. And I think, if you find the right person, you find the right person.
Go ahead.
And that's what, like, good for you. I'm happy for all, my friends that have gotten married, going to get married, my family that has, my cousins that have just settled down, I'm so happy for them, and love is a it's beautiful. Like, I'm sure it's, a beautiful thing to share with someone else. But I don't think that rushing to find that special person, or
settling,
just or like getting married to settle is like, I don't think it's you don't have to do that. Like, if you want to do it, then you can do it. But if you feel like deep down that you genuinely haven't found the right person to do that with, then you don't have to do it. You don't have to listen to your parents. You don't have to marry like Sione or whoever to, get your parents to, be happy for you, or,
She only right now telling me.
Yeah, like, oh, sorry. Okay, that was an example. To all my
No,
Sioners out there, I'm sure you guys are lovely people.
So it's like, hey, wait, what I do to you, man? Let me get married. Not just joking. That was a joke.
No,
John,
but,
we use Mark. We use the Balagi name, Mark.
yeah, Mark or Marcus.
Yeah.
But yes, I think that's like one of the biggest expectations for me right now.
Yeah.
And also not expecting me to live on my own as a single Polynesian girl. So I think that is another issue as well, which is ongoing as well with my family. But because, my mom's sick, we all need to make sure that she's mentally all there and that she doesn't get stressed out. So but I think that marriage is definitely one of the biggest for me.
Yeah,
that stands out.
So when you were younger, did you always did you ever number one, did you feel the pressure? And number two, did you try to rush it? Did you try to rush the process when you were younger? I'm just interested to hear that.
To get married.
Yeah, did you as a young girl, were you always, because of the pressure that you had to be married, did you sometimes rush things when it came to relationships, when it came to dating? Because
I think with that, I think I'm more pressured now because I think younger I wasn't really pressured to to get married, but I think now that I'm older.
At what age did you feel that pressure? What age did you feel that pressure?
When I graduated, it was like they were waiting for me.
College?
Yeah, it's like they were waiting for me to find a nice Tongan boy and just have children and build a white picket fence and just
stay
chill
home.
and have kids and just give them grandkids, basically.
Yeah.
Which I just went the opposite direction.
Yeah.
I just went the opposite direction. But see, I don't think that's I really don't see that as a term of being in terms of being rebellious. I just reject that idea, and I think it's just growth, to be honest. I don't think it's the whole idea of being she's talangata'a, or she doesn't listen, or she's not doing this, she's not doing that. I don't think it's that. I think it's more towards being accountable and just growth in general. Yeah.
No, also I think this time I want to share with everybody. Choosing a life partner is a big commitment. It's one of the biggest decisions you're ever going to make in our life, right? Right. And a lot of times, and this is what I see. Number one, in America right now, the divorce rate is 50%. Half of people get married in America, 50% of them get divorced. So what I've seen in my own friends, I see a lot of men and women fall into that pressure of getting married, and they just settle for anybody who's out there. And the thing is, based on my own friends' personal experience, a lot of them settle, but they don't realize okay, this person is not really compatible as far as with you and your life, and they just find somebody, and of course you and your love. When you're younger, you fall into the honeymoon stage. Okay, you found some love. Okay, everything's gonna work out. But then later on, I have a lot of friends that are divorced right now. And then when I ask them okay, what would ask them if you had to reflect and look back, what would have been different? He was oh man, I wish I would have actually got to know the person a little bit more to figure out okay if because later on once the honeymoon stage was over, and then once everything settled down, they realized this person the person they married because they didn't spend that enough time to get to know that person. And like I said, when it comes to relationship with love, it's really like there's no specific, it really comes out to the flow of you as a person. If you feel that person, if you feel like, but I feel like because
Exactly.
but I feel like when you rush the process, because I feel like it's a process. Love is a process, just like success, like self-love. It's a process. It's a journey we have to go through. But you can't rush it. It just happens on its own time.
Yeah.
So whether you find love
Exactly.
in 2 weeks, whether you find love in 6 months or 3 years, but
Exactly.
you can't rush that process for a specific person because number one, also like this is the person that we're going to spend time with for our whole life, and I feel like it's a decision that needs to be more let people be informed and make their own decision and not just rush that decision, because that's a big decision. Like once you're married to that person, especially my family, like we don't believe in divorce, like and that's for me. Like I'm not married, but like that's a big decision for me. If I'm gonna choose somebody I want to marry, like I want to make sure number one I'm happy. All right, so I can give them my happiness, but at the same time I want to make sure that this is somebody that I know for a fact I'm gonna be happy with for the rest of my life, and I need that time. I can't let the pressure. I need that time to find that for myself.
Yeah, and I think like the whole idea of having to share your life with someone, I don't think that if you are happy just being, single, like you don't have to go out and like look for someone to share a life with. I just want to put it out there. Like you don't have to go, you don't have to go out and find someone to share your life with if you're
okay.
like no, like I know what you mean, but like if you're just comfortable, then the right person will come along. Like
yeah.
So if I'm not, like you don't have to go out and look for them. If your person will come,
Yeah.
Just continue living your life and finding your purpose.
Well, I mean, if you end up living by yourself, and you're happy to it, hey, do that. But I feel like it'd be nice to have somebody. It'll be nice.
Yeah.
It'd be nice
See,
to have somebody.
exactly. It'll be nice to have someone. See, exactly. But if you're the type, like if you're just like, living your life and it happens is kind of what I'm saying, and it happens, then it happens. But like I don't think you should go and like push yourself to be like, oh
well, yeah, I think what you're saying is you don't have to let your life be defined by whether you get married or not, or whether you have a partner or not. You can build a very great, happy, successful life being alone.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be defined by being married or having a partner. Because I know a lot of people that right now they're they're not married, but like they're happy. They're living a happy life. They have a purpose. They're doing great things for the society, impacting people. So, but like I said, you can happen. Love you may not find it now, but you can. If you work on yourself, you can definitely find love later. I want to ask you because I know your family's traditional and very conservative. Did they ever try to like set you up with dates and with people? Did they ever try to do that or no?
Oh my God, no. Thankfully, no. Not yet, anyways.
They never threw hints.
No.
Hey, oh, he's a good boy. They never told you like.
No, they have actually. They have.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm just like, like in a sense, like I'm just like, if it was supposed to happen, I'm pretty sure we would have already hit it off. Like, if we were both interested, I'm pretty sure we would know by now, not you, Mum.
I had a good question. So, do you ever get? Because I remember I had this conversation with this a podcast I did a long time ago. She went to it was one of my good friends. She actually got married later. I think she got married at 36. But the whole time, like she was going through her own self-love, self-happiness journey. Like she wanted to make sure that she found somebody that was going to be perfect, that was going to work for her, that she's happy with, and not just fall into the pressure. So I want to ask you: do you get backlash or criticism from people because you choose not to get married, and because and like a lot of people see you on picky or you're difficult, because that's what she told me. But that a lot of people, that's what she was hearing on her church. Everybody was labeling her as the difficult girl because she's not willing to get married, and then they're like discouraging men not to go with her because she's too difficult. Go marry the other girls because she's too difficult. She play hard to get or whatever. There's the labels and and things people make up, but they don't understand your own journey, your own life, or what you're going to do. But do you get backlash from people with criticism, being a difficult woman and people saying that don't go with her because she don't want to get married and she's just too difficult? Do you ever get that? Do you ever hear that? I'm just interested.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time, and that's exactly what my family say about me. I'm just too difficult, and I am going to be mo'unofoa, and I'm like, girl, if I'm not mo'unofoa, I'm gonna be mo'unofoa, like. But yes, I feel like especially at work, it's funny because every time we have like work things like work dinner or Christmas work dinner, everyone brings their partners and their husbands, and they're like, so are you bringing anyone this time? And I'm like, no, just myself. But I guess but the whole pressure of just and I guess they would call me fili or just difficult and single. But honestly, it doesn't bother me at all. I honestly wish I was bothered. The case is with my family, that's what they expect me to do, get married. Just so that I don't, become mo'onofo or whatever.
Yeah.
See, that bothers me because I actually care about what they say.
Yeah.
But in terms of just, people I've met, saying that I'm like too picky and like, I'm too difficult and like soon if I'm like older, like, it'll be too late.
Nobody's gonna like you or
no one's gonna want me.
Want you, yeah.
Yeah. And all the good ones are gonna be taken and like, this, and I'm like, firstly, I'm not looking for anyone, like I'm happy with where I'm at. And if it happens, it happens. And that's actually none of your business, like if I'm looking or not, if it happens, it happens. But if it comes down to my family and it's, with them, like, you need to hurry up and get married and say all these awful things, then obviously it's gonna affect me because I love my family. But if it's just like people I've met, that say that, then it doesn't really bother me, to be honest.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Did you ever come close to ever getting married at some point in your life, or just never got to that point?
Oh my God, I'm trying to take myself seriously with that question. I've never come close ever.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't have any cool stories for you today, Will, about that one. Sorry. I wish I did. I honestly wish I did, but I don't.
All right. Yeah. So I want to ask you this question because I feel like because the way you live your life, I know a lot of times, men can get intimidated by that. Instead of getting to know who you are, a lot of times because of the labels and what people say, that a lot of men may like. Because that's one of the conversations I had with one of my girls the other day, a couple of weeks ago. We were just talking about that, and she said that she was like, man, well, she's different. She doesn't care about she's come to she's confident being herself, but at the same time, like she is aware, like she does want to find somebody the other day. And then we were just having a good conversation. It was like, I always, because of the label of being this difficult woman, like people don't really get to know who my true personality. Like I'm a very fun person. I'm a loving, open person. Like if you get over those labels and this criticism, like get to know me, I'm a very great woman. So I want to ask you is like, do you feel like men get intimidated? Like, have you had experience when men you hear like men get intimidated by you? Like, do you ever experience that or hear that or see that you're afraid you're afraid to approach you? because you're this strong woman? Do you ever have that
I think
experience?
so. I think so. Yeah, I think no, yeah, I know what you mean. I think
Yeah.
that is
Because
like
I'm like, I mean, just put out there, like, you are a beautiful woman. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of men out there, and
uh
men watching this, like, they will love to like take a chance and speak to you, and keep, like, ask you out on a
uh
date.
yeah, yeah,
And I don't know. And coming from, man, I've been there where I know that feeling where I've seen a woman before. Oh man, I want to ask that, but
yeah,
I feel intimidated sometimes. But so
yeah.
I know that feeling. But that's why I want to talk about it. Yeah, like, do you ever feel like, yeah, that, like, you feel
Like
men are
I
intimidated
think
to approach you?
yeah, I honestly don't I didn't I wouldn't notice, but
Because yeah,
I have come across people just I mean, boys just thinking, I don't know, probably, that not even giving me a chance,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, to like get to know me and probably just being like, oh nah, she doesn't, she's probably too difficult. She probably thinks she just because she's a model, like I don't even,
yeah.
she probably thinks she's too good for me.
Fear, man.
Um, yeah, like does she think she's cool, like doing all these photo shoots and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Um, no, yeah, I definitely get those vibes
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, yeah,
But honestly, like I'm pretty chill. Like I don't really like if I think my ideal date would be um just getting takeout and then going to like a nice view. I don't really like eating out. Like I prefer just getting takeout, and then going to like a really nice view and just like getting out of the car and just eating, and just like chilling. I'm simple. Like I don't have standards of like you have to take me to this expensive restaurant
yeah,
and
yeah.
you have to pick me up in like a freaking Mercedes or like limo and like you have to have a waitress, like I'm nothing like that. If anything, I'm so chill. Like that's actually my ideal date, or just get food and then like go to a nice view or like a nice beach and just sit out and eat and chill. And yeah, I'm that type of girl. Like I'm not the type, like if you take me to like an expensive restaurant or like a restaurant, I'd be like, okay, I think you've got the wrong idea, you got the wrong girl. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so yeah. Actually, I always find it, because I know that that's something that both men and women experience, right? When you see somebody
yeah,
from the outside and you see their accomplishments, their accolades, what they, their social media. so
yeah,
so a lot of times, people, never get a chance to know that person.
yeah.
Um,
And I think that's unfair. Like, you shouldn't judge a
yeah,
person, with their career or what's going on with them, like I think you should, don't be shy, take chances and just go for it, live with no regrets. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's funny that you've brought that up, Will, because with modeling, like I actually have, like, I just, for some, you go in for castings and stuff like that and not getting the job, being rejected for a particular job, and picking another model, I think is like a huge humbling experience, And before, when I first started, I was like, oh, I'm not taking this well, like this sucks, they didn't pick me, like, I
yeah,
went in,
yeah,
and I'm pretty sure like the dress that I was wearing was like, it looked really good, and I thought she liked me. Yeah, and long story short, if I don't get the casting or if I don't get the job, it really humbles me, and it doesn't, it's a huge learning experience, and I wouldn't change it, you know I wouldn't change it, because I know that I took that chance, I went for it, did my absolute best, and it didn't work out, and that's fine, like I'm fine with that. And I think also I should take that, into dating world, just, people should do that, take chances, and rejection is okay, you know.
Yeah.
At least you know that you gave it your best shot, and you know what they, you know, you know, you had a feel of it, or you know what it's yeah. So I just think you should just go for it, and yeah, take the chance.
Okay. All right, all the guys out there listening, take notes.
Hey, not in that way, not in that way. No,
Take
stop
notes.
being cheeky, eh? Getting cheeky.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah. That's something I just noticed that, like, you know, that's one of the, that's one of the hardest things. You know, whenever, especially if you're somebody that's you know, have big goals, big dreams, that's working on yourself. You know, that's one of the challenges is finding somebody that understands not only your lifestyle but also, like, you know, fits in within what you're trying to do. Because I know a lot of times, especially I know within Polynesian, you know, culture of, you know, men, you know, they're not used to a woman being the way you are, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of the friends I know, if you know, when I talk to my friends, they prefer like women, like they're like submissive and stay home and just listen, you know, and follow what they do. So when they see women like you, like that, like they're based on what I feedback I get from my friends. So I can feel for you, but I didn't, and I've actually heard from myself, my own experience too. Like some of my friends will bring up, hey, you know, this girl, you know, that wants to ask you out, but doesn't feel confident asking me out because of how I live my life or how I am, what I'm trying to do. They don't feel like they're like they can,
Yeah,
know,
they can live up to it.
Live up to
Yeah.
because they think like I'm this person. But at the end of the day, I always tell people, look, out of all the things I'm trying to do for my life, at the end of the day, I'm still that islander. I'm still in Tonga. I'm still that Tongan. I'm still that Tongan. You know what I say? You can take the man out the island. We can't take the
island out of the man. Yeah.
Like
That's
people,
right.
because I know I have my goal in the things I'm doing on social media. People have this like image or persona they think I am. But at the end of the day, that's just what I do professionally. But
yeah,
when I'm off camera and by myself and I be myself, I'm a fob.
Yeah.
I'm still that
exactly.
islander. I'm still that islander that I grew up in the Tonga. So I can totally relate. So just everybody out there.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was fun. That was a little fun. That's fun just to share. All right. So yeah. So I wanna. So okay. So so you decided to be a model. You know, you decided to go down that path. Now I wanna go into your life right now. So looking back at your life right now. So if you had to look back at how you grew up and comparing it to the person you are today, what do you feel like were the biggest things that you had to go through that, as far as like experiences or growth state? Because I love how you always talk about growth. So I want to ask you, like, what are the things in your life that you felt like that happened that definitely was one of the biggest things that allowed you to grow the most? Because I feel like we all go through those phases in life because when people say growth, a lot of people have the image of, oh, everything's nice and positive. No, there's a lot of struggles and things that we have to go through the hard times of our life. That's what makes us grow the most, is the hard times. So I just want you to share the things that you went through in your life that you grew the most and allowed you to be like who you are today. And if you want to share that.
Yeah. I think the most would have to be a few things, but I would have to say a lot of friendships and relationships that have gone like bad friendships and bad relationships, but definitely also my mom getting sick.
Yeah.
Those were like the biggest barriers in my life. And like I was saying earlier, I think with just my mom being sick, that has just changed me a lot, in terms of just opening my eyes to see, you know, the real people that will always be there for me and my family. If anything happened, you know, I mean, you only have one mom. You'll never get another one. So I definitely think a lot of, you know, bad friendships and bad relationships have just also just made me more aware of who, you know, who will always be there for me, and just allowing myself to grow. And, you know, sometimes with growth, it means, you know, not speaking to someone that you were once close with every day. You know, and that's just a part of life. Sometimes you just have to accept it. And sometimes you just have to do you and continue your own journey, to become the best possible version that you can be. And also just, yeah, just with my mom being sick and stuff, like, it just made me, like, I'm just a whole different person. Like, before she got sick, I didn't really know what I was doing with my life. You know, I was just working and, you know, going, like, probably partying every weekend, you know, and just, yeah, no, I didn't have a purpose. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, didn't know where I was going. But then when my mom got sick, I just saw everyone's true colors. And, you know, it made me realize, you know, like, my mother was literally on her deathbed, you know, almost, you know, yeah, I mean, if anything had happened, you know, the people that were there for me at that time when I wasn't all there, you know, would it actually matter if I lived up to their expectations, if anything happened to her? Or would it matter, like, what would matter to me the most? Me being happy, living a life full of happiness, and with my family, or, you know, continuing these, like, fake friendships and relationships, and just wasting my time, you know. And it just made me see things more and grow as a person. Like, if anything, it's taught me more you know, it's highlighted the fact that, you know, time is going. Like, you know, you're not getting any younger, you know, your parents are getting older. What are you going to do about it? You know, every day counts. You know, make it count, and live a life, full of life. You know, make a meaningful life. And, you know, me stepping into, you know, modeling is just a part of it. You know, and what other people say about me, you know, being a model, is that's actually none of my concern, because what they think about me is not my business. But what my family think about me is what I actually care about. And the reason why, you know, I bring up my mom being sick is because that just made me realize a lot of things. Like, you know, living life with no regrets. Like, if anything had happened to her, like, I don't know, you know, my family relies on her so much. And, you know, like, I need to step up as a daughter, as a sister, and just as, you know, a member in my family. And, you know, being educated and holding accountability, being responsible, being independent, you know. How am I gonna accomplish and be these things if I'm just gonna drink every weekend and then go to work from Monday to Friday? Like, if I want to live that life that, you know, I aspire to live, what do I need to do to, you know, be independent, you know, and, be these things? So I said to myself, okay, so, you know, I want to push myself, and do something out of the ordinary that I never thought I'd do. You know, and I want other people to be the same. You know, I mean, it's good to be independent, but don't get too comfortable. You know, if you're like me and you want to, you know, look after your family as well, push yourself. There's no limits. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I mean, what's the worst case scenario if you try something and it doesn't work out? It's just all a learning experience, and life is way too short. You need to make these things, take these chances, and these bad experiences from relationships, from friendships, from your workplace, from church, from, and use it as a fuel to find your purpose in life. Whatever that may be, find it, like what fires you up, and what your passion is. Another thing also, what I love about your podcast right now, Will, is how you just ask questions without letting without actually giving like a specific question for me to prepare for.
Yeah.
Like I actually love that, because it means you're speaking solely from your heart, and actually and I think with me, in terms of because I modeling is just like 20% of what I do. I actually have like like I said, we have these family roles behind us, I mean, at home, that are not acknowledged enough. And I think just being passionate and finding that passion, is use it as fuel to find yourself as a person. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, thanks. That's why, for me, like, I like how you brought it up. And I don't, cause no, that's always whenever I get people on the podcast, that's always they're always a question they always ask is to have specific questions. And
Yes,
for me,
I love that, because no, because I feel like it's not rehearsed.
yeah,
And if for anyone else, anyone that's watching, I feel like it's too, like it's good, it's better to speak from your own experiences and what's in your heart,
yeah,
rather than speaking what you should be saying. We're
yeah,
so accustomed to preparing and doing things because we're supposed to be doing it,
yeah,
saying what we're supposed to say. And I love that you have this
yeah,
whole agenda of just asking without having to give specific questions,
yeah,
because then it's the whole part of me doing modeling is like, that's another that just another skill set, or like another job that I have, is also because touching other people's lives about their insecurities and their body images, is I want to be able to lead from where your heart is. I don't want to and that's the whole idea of just bringing passion and fire, and you can't rehearse that. That's all in your heart, and it comes out when you on the spot.
yeah.
And I just want to commend you on that. I love that. Keep
Oh,
doing it.
thank you. Yeah, and like, and just to go off what you said, what the like I said, the reason why I don't have quite specific questions, because like I'm interested in knowing who you are, knowing you. I don't care about. That's one thing one thing I always made sure in the podcast that when I brought people in is make sure to provide them a platform and a place where there's no criticism, there's no judgment. We're just here.
Exactly.
I want you just to be yourself and speak, and I'm very interested just to know who you are as a person. And I feel, and that's why I set it up that way, and because I feel like that's something that we need in our culture, is to be able to accept everybody as they are. And I feel like that's one of the things I'm trying to promote, and I appreciate you playing along too, playing along and sharing your life story and speaking from the heart, and I really appreciate that. So, so I do want to go into. I know that's something that you practice. I know we discussed, but you've practiced that you're a practicing vegan. So I know I'm very interested in the, I know a lot of people like, wait, she's poly and she's a vegan. How's that possible?
Yeah.
So
Um,
I'm interested to hear that journey. In number one, what inspired you to start being vegan? And I feel like that's something for me. I've actually tried being a vegan before. I did it for a month.
yeah, I love that. See, and it doesn't have to, you don't have to, I mean, you have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been plant-based going on 5 years now.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years now. Yeah, um I started being vegan because I wanted to see whether I'd last, to be honest. I don't have any yeah. So and then when that whole thing started out, I started reading up on a lot of articles about veganism. I know this topic is quite controversial as well.
Yeah.
So I don't want to spend but yeah, I honestly recommend it. It's funny that you say that you went vegan for a month because my niece, she tried it and she lasted for about a month as well. And she actually felt better as
No,
well.
I'm not gonna lie. The reason why I tried it because for me, like I always like to try things before. I always for me like I always want to experience things. I feel like if there's a better
Yeah.
way to do things, I'll do it. But I want to experience it myself. And I did it for a month. And I'm not gonna lie for everybody out there. Like when I was a vegan for a month, that was I didn't feel as I felt as more energy than I ever felt before.
Yeah.
I felt alive.
Yeah.
I felt like I had a lot of energy waking up. I didn't feel any crashes throughout the day.
Mm,
I was more focused. I had more clarity in my thoughts in everything I did. So I'm not gonna lie. I felt better being a vegan than eating meat. But
yeah.
I just couldn't deny the Tongan food.
Yeah, no, no, no. Yeah, and also like a huge. So that was like me. So I wanted to try it out, but also a huge part of me just transitioning is because like I don't. I mean, animals are alive. Come on, guys. And I don't want to go into that whole debate about the whole plant-based thing,
Yeah.
but I just want to say animals are animals, and just imagine humans being killed as well, and slaughtered, being in slaughterhouses for like weeks and months, waiting to be killed just for other people to eat it. Like that whole idea is just, yeah, it's gut wrenching, and it's just, yeah, it's terrible. And so that's a huge part, of why
Okay.
I'm vegan. And also just health wise as well, I feel much better. Like I do have more energy.
Mhm.
And yeah, I honestly don't know why I didn't do it any sooner.
Well, yeah, you grew up Tongan, that's why.
Yeah, exactly. I go to Gaibolas every Sunday. And so yeah,
Kijk, wakker, Lucy
um,
P.
yeah, Gaibwaka, yeah. And also just like with climate change and stuff like that. I won't go, like I said, I won't go into that, yeah. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's just a whole another world out there. But if my contribution to the world is me, being green and being plant-based, and if that's, my contribution to the world in my lifetime, I'm happy with that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm doing my part, and I need to, I need to focus on myself. Like what I do is my business. What everyone else does is their business. But if you can contribute to a greener world, greener earth, I should say, then you don't even have to go like fully plant-based. But if it starts somewhere, like you could have like almond milk, or like whether it's just switching it up, trying vegan options, or that's cool. Like that would be enough for me, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay. Um, I want to ask you what's one thing about being vegan that a lot of people have like like a misperception, because I know when people think vegan, I remember I think it was Lanu. I talked to Lanu. She talked about being vegan, and she said that when most people when they think vegan, they think like salad, but she said there's a lot more food that you can eat as a vegan than just salad. But that's like the common perception of people when they think vegan.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, like with being vegan, like everyone thinks, oh, so you eat greens and salads and, and I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, there is a whole nother world out there. Like
there's a menu. There's
2021. Yeah, like this vegan, like it was so funny because I was talking to my mate the other day. And she was like, oh, so what did you have for dinner? And I was like, oh, I had vegan chicken. I had a vegan chicken pie. And she was like, what? She was like, what? Vegan chicken? Why don't you just eat chicken? Like, I'm like, firstly, because it's not real chicken. That's actually what we call it.
Yeah.
But honestly, there's so many options now. Like, it's sometimes I even forget I'm vegan. Like, I eat too many pizzas and like vegan burgers, and I'm like, oh my gosh, people are like eating the wrong foods. Like, if you live on pizza and burger, then you should go vegan because at least you're like contributing to the planet.
Yeah. So that's I know. This is a lot of people don't know. It's just misinformation. But vegan. I always advise people like try everything. Like if you're trying to be healthy, you're trying to do better, just try everything and then experience it on your own. And you never know. You might like it. You might be
exactly.
might feel better, and then you end up being a vegan yourself. So I do want to touch base on something I know the things that we wanted to discuss and talk about. Talk about being true to yourself. I know something that you want to do kind of spend a little bit of time on. So I wanted to take the time right now to talk about it. And I want to ask you, based on your experience in your life, as a woman, as a Tongan woman, as a Polynesian, why is it so important right now? Because at this point in your life right now, why is it so important to be yourself in this world? In a world full of negativity, in a world full of expectation, in a world full of gender roles and things. And there's so many things there, so many different applications and aspects of what stops people from being happy. I mean, we can go on for ages, but for you, also, because like, why is it so important based on your experience and just watching other people? Why is it so important for people today in a world where people are lost because of all the things that we consume and on social media and the media and the negativity? But why is it so important in this crazy and negative world that we live in? Why is it so important for a person to be true to themselves and find themselves in this world? Go ahead.
Yeah. So that quote where it says, if you want to change the world, you need to change yourself first.
Yep.
Yeah. So I relate to that quote a lot. I can be quite critical. Like I'm very critical of myself. Like sometimes I'm too hard on myself, which is like not a good thing because I keep but honestly, like that message, like just from like from a poly girl to another, and also to like just to brown people in general, like just and also to anyone else that's listening, like just push yourself and like there's no limitations in life. Just be yourself and do more. The only thing you need to be true to is yourself. Like live with no regrets. Like, and I say that because I feel like we have this whole expectation as like a poly woman or like a poly person that you should live this like religious life and like have this like traditional background, and you have to be you have to go to church every Sunday and you have to act a certain way, you have to dress a certain way. And I feel like if that expectation is if that's not you, then don't be it. And the reason why I say that is because you need to be true to yourself, like you could go around the world, like, promoting issues that, are supposed to be addressed. and then live a total opposite life to that, you know. And that's what, and if you live a life according to what you preach, you know, good for you. But if you're wanting to change anything about the world, you need to change it. You need to look at yourself first, you know, see what you need to change about yourself, and then contribute that to the world to make it a better place to live. And, you know, we could go on pleasing everyone else, you know, dressing, covering up, you know, wearing baggy shorts at the beach or whatever with your family. We can all go on and do that. But at the end of the day, when you go to sleep, it'll just be you, you know, in your head. And, you know, it's like, if you're living that life, you need to change yourself first. If you want to have, you know, an effect, or if you want to influence others in life, you need to take a good look at yourself first to see what you need to change to be that change. And I say this just out of, you know, my own personal experience. I can't draw on anyone else's experience. But as a brown girl, I feel like it's not said enough to just, you know, do more, and don't limit, you know, what you can do as a person, and push yourself. You know, you can do more and be more in life, really. Like, I don't, and I say this because, you know, you could be a leader, travel and speak about issues, and then live a completely different life. You know, if I want to listen to someone, or if I want, you know, if I want to be influenced by what you're saying, I want to see you make that change before you're telling me to make that change. And, you know, and I understand it's like no one's perfect, you know, but if you're going around preaching those things, I think that just out of respect for everyone else, you know, especially for our brown people, just out of respect, you should practice what you preach instead of going around creating an image that you're supposed to live up to in our brown and Pacifica communities, when in fact you're not living it, or you're not, you know, trying to be or live that version that you're trying to promote, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely true. I want to ask you, and I don't know if this is going to be controversial, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you see
Ask
that?
away.
Did you see that a lot growing up? Leaders within the community, within the Tongan culture, where they were trying to preach something, but they weren't following. They weren't following
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it's necessarily just them. And I think it's just people in general, like people that you meet and people you're affiliated with. You know, you get to know them and you know, on a personal level. And, you know, I'm not judging or anything.
Yeah.
But if, you know, because I mean technically we're putting this all out there. And I don't want to, you know, leave this interview being all like, oh, I should have said this, I should have said that. But what I'm basically saying is just people in general, like through meeting people, like, you know, traveling and stuff. If you're trying to create an image, and you're saying you're representing certain places, or, you know, you're joining pageants, or joining, you know, becoming a model, and, you know, you're saying you're promoting this and that, but you're not actually living that life. I think it's not, we don't say it enough, or, you know, it's not through talanoa that we communicate that enough, you know. So we, like, if like, say for example, when I started modeling, the whole, like, I wanted to show my younger cousins and my younger nieces that even though, you know, we're from traditional backgrounds, conservative backgrounds, you know, like, I am pushing myself, like, I'm putting myself out there. Like, I want to make things easier for you guys, you know, if you want to ever do anything that's like out of the ordinary, like, you know, a Tongan girl becoming a model. Yeah, okay. Like,
yeah.
you know, like, I want to clear that space for
That,
them. I want to
yeah,
make things
that
easier
path.
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to create that pathway, I should say. Yeah. I want to make it easier for them to feel comfortable enough to step out and be themselves. And I want to be able to influence them in that way. But if I want to influence other people in that way, in terms of saving the planet, or talking about climate change, or my life, like I'm actually vegan myself, and I'm comfortable preaching that because I'm actually contributing to that part of the planet. So
Mhm.
that's just another example. Like I said, well, like I use my own my own experiences only because I can only draw from my own experience. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
speak on behalf of anyone else, like I don't want to offend anyone
Hmm.
else. um but yeah, so that's basically what I'm trying to get at, is I want to create a pathway that's easier for my younger cousins, my younger sisters, my younger nieces and nephew, for them to see, that you can be, and I say this all the time, you can be anything you want in the world. um you just need to work for it, and you need to be hardworking and optimistic. And hopefully with my journey, you know I know I'm far from perfect. If anyone's thinking that, like, oh my gosh, I have so many flaws, so many insecurities, like, oh my gosh.
Don't worry,
um
we'll get there later. We'll get there. We're saving that for last.
you know yeah, like I said, you don't have to be perfect to start somewhere. But if you're trying to lead people or influence people and touch people's lives in that way, you only have to be true to yourself. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what.
no, I love that message. Thank you for saying that, and I think that's very powerful. And especially coming from you, and what you're doing for your life as a Polynesian woman. But just to piggyback on what you said, that's actually one of one of the reasons why it inspired me to not only start a podcast, but people that watch my content online. I make a lot of motivational content, um, because like you said, I'm just drawing from my own experience. I feel like for me, the reason why I started going down the path of motivating and making content and speaking about life and motivating people to do better, especially our Tongan and Polynesian community, because I feel like that's one of the problems in our culture. I feel like that we grew up in a culture in families or traditions that limits, that kind of puts like chains on people to be who they are. And for
Mm,
me, for me, man, I see so many intelligent, talented, well-spoken, Tongans and Polynesians every single day. They could become great at anything they wanted to do if they put their mind into it, if they put the
mm,
work in. But they lack the courage within themselves to be themselves, and actually go down that path of doing what they really want to do for their life. Because I remember growing up, I'm like, people always ask. That's one of the most questions people always ask. How did I get this way? Because there was a point of time when I grew up. The only thing I thought that I could do in my life was like three professions: was yate, right, working
yeah.
construction, working construction, working at the airport, um, or working security. Because that was the reality of what I saw everybody in my family or
Doing.
so what was doing. So
Yeah.
ultimately, it conditioned me as a Tongan man to think, okay, that's all I could do, no matter
Mhm.
that's as far as my life could do. But luckily, I met people that changed my mindset and changed my perspective and gave me faith within myself to broaden my horizon. Oh, I can do better and I can strive better. I just gotta take that leap of faith and go outside my comfort zone.
Mm.
But for me, man, yeah, I see. I and Polynesians, I feel like I know we're like a minority compared to the world as far as our race. We don't.
Mm.
There's not a lot of us.
Yeah,
But even though we're a minority, but we're just as talented as anybody.
that's right.
There's Polynesian actors, there's Polynesian singers, there's Polynesian lawyers, there's Polynesian doctors, and I feel like a lot of these natural talents that God gives us that I see within my own brothers and sisters are not utilized and not fulfilled within their own potential is because they just don't feel comfortable, like you said, being themselves. They don't feel comfortable because they don't feel comfortable trying that opportunity or trying, being if you want to be a model, go pursue it. If you want to be a singer, go pursue it. If you want to go to Hollywood to be an actor,
exactly,
pursue it. If you want to be, if you whatever you want to do in life, and that's one of the main reasons why I started doing this, because I love my culture so much, and I love my Tongan so much, and I know we have more we have more to give than what we know.
Exactly.
And I feel, and that's why, and I want to, and I mean, I would love to grow for my kids. When I have kids one day, I would love for them to grow up and see Tongan actors and see Tongan doctors and see Tongan lawyers, and that's the norm, right? They see all these Tongan models, like they see you on the wall. They say, "Hey, who's this?" Hey, oh, I know that girl. I did a podcast. I actually know her. Yeah, I actually know. I know she's a celebrity now, but I mean that'll be, for me, that'll be so beautiful for me, because I could just look back at my childhood life. Like, I didn't have anybody to look up to. If you have great parents that support you, that give you a good path and push you through school, and they give you a plan in life, great. But for a lot of kids like me and a lot of kids, there's no our parents don't really give us a plan for life, so we're left to figure things out on our own. And then for some of us, we make it. Some of us, when you go down that path of life, we're lucky. I'm very lucky that I met certain people. I'm telling you, if I didn't meet just looking back at my life, if I didn't meet certain people in my life, this would not be happening.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how God works in mysterious ways, and he puts you in positions. But I met certain people in my life that changed my mindset and gave me confidence in myself as a Tongan man, that I could be more than just the traditional Tongan person that we know, or society says, oh, this Tongans can only be good at athletes, or be only rugby players, football players, and that's it. If you don't make it, if you don't become an athlete, if you don't become make it to the NFL, then you're a failure. There's nothing more you can give life. You can offer the world. So, and that's why I reach. And that's why when I see Polynesians like you doing your thing, that's why I reach out to you.
Thank you.
So that's why, like, everybody I've had on my podcast. I know it was probably weird. It was still getting that message.
No, honestly, I was like, it made me, like, I was excited but nervous, because I've actually never done a podcast before, like an interview through a podcast before, and I was excited and like nervous, but it was weird because you were like, I was thinking today, and then you're like, oh, I have today free, and I'm like, okay, perfect, that's good.
Because, like, for me, I know Tongans can be very mutulau and critical and judgmental.
Yes, but that's the thing, like, you need to, like, gossip will never, gossip and rumors will just, it's gonna go on. You can't stop it. And that's why before I highlighted that I only care about what my family thinks, my family and my friends, because they're the only ones that matter. If my, my mom was sick, who was there? That the people that were there are my family, and the people that are there for you during your vulnerable times are the people that matter. And what they think of you is what matters, because they love you and they genuinely care about you. But if you're not present, if you're not present during that vulnerable time for me, then I could care less about what you think, because you're not there for me. So why would I care enough to give you the time of day to actually consider what you think about me? And that's that's actually something I forgot to add on, to the message. Let me just edit and go back and
you're absolutely true, because because like I said, like when I see I've seen Tongans and Polynesians talk bad about somebody else and don't even know them, especially if they're trying to do better for their life or be different.
Yeah.
And I've seen that so many. For me, I just don't understand how you can look at somebody that looks just like you, your own brother and sister,
Exactly.
your own ethnicity, your own people,
Mhm.
and wish them any misfortune and don't have any and don't want them to do well, to do better in their life. For me,
Yeah.
when I see Tongans flourishing, glowing, growing, doing well, like I said, when I saw your page, I was like, oh yeah, I definitely want to hear her story. But and everybody that I've gone to, like I get inspired for that. Like when I see Polynesians doing well, I get inspired by that, and it makes me feel good being Polynesian because I know that if that's possible for you, that's definitely is possible for me. You know,
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
can be that way. But I just and that's that's part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now, and also why I started a podcast. But I just for me it's just so sad that as loving, as great as great as we are in our culture, and as loving as we are as people, as Tongans, as Polynesians, but we are one of the most critical people when it comes to our own
Yeah.
people.
And I think, so I think for people that just gossip and sit around and spread rumors, honestly, I think that they're just like they have, if you would do that, you have issues. And
Yeah.
and it's really sad that like, you actually have time to do that when you could actually be working on yourself. But also, like, it's just a waste of time. Like, I don't think, people should do that. And it's just so sad. Like, if you're sitting there gossiping about someone that's putting themselves out there, because when I signed up for modeling, I knew that I was signing up to, be critiqued. And,
Yeah.
For anyone out there to just comment and say anything. And
Did
then
you
I
hear what they
realized,
did you hear what they said? Did you ever hear anything from anybody or what they said
oh
about you?
yeah, like a few times that like I want to like that I am a try hard, or like, I'm like, I think I'm all that, or like I think I'm all that and this, and like, and I just
But
honestly,
what was the worst one? What was the worst thing you ever heard somebody say about you?
with modeling,
Modeling or anything, any criticism they had about you. Like, what was the worst thing you ever heard?
I think the worst thing I've heard was that I am that I am a try hard, and I can't swear on it, and I'm the B word. I can't say it, can I?
You can
I
if you
can't
want
say
to. Yeah. I don't mind.
Yeah, so basically that I'm a try hard, and also
And
that I'm a bitch.
yeah, you're
Basically. And I was like, who is this person?
Yeah.
Literally have never met this person.
Yeah, exactly. Never met you before.
So I'm just like confused. Like, what did I ever do to you? Like,
Yeah.
But then again, it's part of my job to take, like I kind of signed up for it.
Well, that's life.
Yeah, exactly. That's life. And that didn't hurt me because I don't know that person, but it kind of like I was kind of taken back, like, whoa, like I'm a bitch. Like,
Yeah.
please message me. Like, I promise I'm not a bitch. Like, we could be friends. We could have coffee,
And also, it's okay to have that confidence that you are that bitch. It's okay.
It's like, let the bitch take you out for coffee. Like, nah.
No, yeah, but yeah, it's for me. It's just crazy how people like just don't know, especially when it comes from your own culture and people. That's always. But also, like I said, that's also, I feel like that's what's stopping a lot of kids being like you said, being true to themselves. I feel like they're just so afraid to get, everybody's gonna say something or talk about, critique them, or the criticism they're gonna receive. But for all the kids out there that that want to be happy, they want to find themselves, they want to live happy lives, I highly encourage you to don't be afraid of the criticism. And like you said, it's just words.
Just words.
It has no impact in your life. if you don't allow it.
If they don't contribute towards your family or your bills, then they don't matter. Like
Exactly.
you just continue being you, and don't try and like live up to like a perfect image, you know. And I think we're so caught up with living up to that image of trying to be perfect, having the perfect life, looking perfect, having the perfect body, having the perfect job, you know, having the perfect life, the perfect house, like. But none of that exists and none of it matters, you know. Like you just continue to be true and be, you know, you're one of a kind. We're all unique in our own ways. And you know, that's something I know that Will always says on his podcast, you know, we are all unique.
Yeah.
And we're all different and we're all built differently, which is what is, you know, amazing about, you know, each and every one of us.
Yeah.
But I really want to say, like, there's no such thing as having a perfect life. Like, you know, if you're just, if you, there's no such thing as a perfect job either. Like, you know, just don't be pretentious. Like, be yourself and just live your life and be happy. Happiness is all that matters. Yeah.
All right. And since we're in the topic of, you know, not being perfect, I want to dive into mental health, insecurities, anxieties that we go through. Since we're in that topic, so I want to ask you is, because you mentioned about, okay, it's okay not to be perfect. So can you share something that that you did or that maybe something you failed or you made a mistake in your life, that definitely, because you were trying so hard to be perfect, but you actually you actually failed in it, but then you learn, okay, you know, but you realize, you know what, it's okay. It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay that I failed in this as a woman, as whatever you want to share. But I feel like I just want all these people that's watching to hear that from you, that because I know a lot of people probably see you on social media and probably have that perception, oh my gosh, she's so perfect. You know.
No.
I don't know. I'm saying I know a lot of people probably do but if they look from the outside in your life. But that's one thing I always tell people: no matter when you see somebody that's doing really well, you only see them now and what's going on with the results, but you don't see the journey, the process of them making mistakes along the way and finding themselves to be that person they are today. So I want to hear your journey, the mistakes you've made, so that way people can hear. People can hear, hey, it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
As you try to find yourself. Can you share that?
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, like social media, I just want to say social media is like probably like 10% of my life. Like honestly, like, and one thing that like sticks out for me from answering that question, from hearing that question, is how after high school, when I went into uni, I honestly, like, I was lost and confused. Like I didn't really want to know what I wanted to do with my life, like right after high school. So I went straight into teaching. I went into doing a Bachelor of Education for my first year, and I failed. And I hated it. Like I hated that course I did. Was I was just like, so like my whole family was like, oh, like, so after high school, like, you know, you're gonna go into, you know, study your bachelor's to become a teacher, right? And I was like, yeah, you know, I've always wanted to be a teacher, you know, like I love kids and, you know, this and that, like I can't wait. And so after high school, I went into uni and I did my first year and I failed. And I hated it so much. Honestly, I take my hat off to all the teachers out there. I honestly don't know how you do it. But oh gosh, so that going into my first, so you know, my parents were like, oh yeah, you know, like she's sorted, like, you know, telling my other siblings, oh yeah, she's got like a safe career option, you know, teaching, you know, like she's gonna be stable. Then you know, at least she won't have to look for a job when she like finishes uni, because you know you can go straight into teaching. And because my mom's got her master's in education as well, and
Yeah.
my dad yeah, my dad did his bachelor's in history. So yeah, so like I said earlier, education is like a big deal in my family. um but yeah, and so I went in and my parents were like super proud of me, like, oh yeah, like, you know, telling my whole family like, yeah, she's gonna go into teaching. And then I flunked my first year. I failed. And yeah.
Say that again. Did you fail?
They were just like, yeah, like they were like, what? I thought you wanted to teach. Like, weren't you this like perfect daughter that wanted to be the perfect teacher? No. But yeah, that was one of the biggest fails of my life. So I'm definitely not perfect. And let me just say, like, I actually like highlighting, you know, my failures and like insecurities in life. Like, I actually like that. It makes me happy because that makes me who I am. I wouldn't have been here, you know, if I didn't go through all those trials and tribulations in my life. And I mean, I'm not proud that I failed, but I honestly, truthfully, I hated the first year of that bachelor's degree. Don't even know why I went into it in the first place. And you know, and I guess I don't even know why I went into it in the first place. And I guess, you know, the idea as well of just upholding that whole image, you know, expecting me, my family expecting me to go down this pathway of teaching when actually I hated it. And I think, yeah, and so I was like, oh, I told my parents. My dad did not like that. I feel like he was actually more calm when I told him that I'm modeling, compared to like me telling him that I failed my first year of teaching.
You mean what
Yeah,
he said?
and so he was just like, why? Like, why? You can go back and, you know, you can keep trying, and like, you know, teaching is like such a safe option, and you know, like you've always wanted to teach, and like, no, you need to go back and like do that year again, and then like, you know, become a teacher, and then you can come back to Tonga and like teach there. And then I was just like, I was sitting at, I still remember actually, we're driving back, and I was sitting at the back of his vehicle, and I was just like, I'm not going back. Like, I'm actually not going back. And he was like, no, but why? Like, why are you not going back? Like, you should go back. You know, like, this is what we've known you for, is like teaching and like tutoring and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I'm not going back. And so he didn't I don't think he spoke to me for like 2 days, 2 or 3 days. But then I went into sociology and anthropology, and I completed that. I think that was more my passion than teaching. I think my mom's more teaching. Yeah, I'm not. But yeah, long story short, he didn't speak to me for like a few days, and then yeah,
That's right.
yeah, for a few. But I'm a daddy's girl. Like I'm yeah. It's always me and him. So that actually was it was a big deal for me back then, because I was like, I was always his girl that, you know, I'd always do what he'd want me to do, and yeah, just living up to that expectation, and just, yeah, I was always with him. But long story short, so I completed my sociology degree, my bachelor's, sociology and anthropology. And then I went into what I'm doing now, which is, yeah, which is cool. But I think just with, that, just with what, that whole experience of failing, you know, my first year, and then going on to finding my passion was I actually needed that, you know. And I'm not going to say I'm proud that I like failed it, but I'm glad it happened, because there's nothing, I mean, obviously it is, you know, it's not a good thing that I failed it, but it's good to talk about it, because these things do happen, and I'm far from perfect, you know, like I've had a journey to get to where I am today. And you know, you shouldn't be, you know, you should be proud of the trials and tribulations that you've gone through in life, that have put you to where you are, or you know, where you are now in life. So yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that story. That story. I know that's something that I just noticed within a lot of kids, Polynesian people, that they're just afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Just afraid to fail, and then I understand where that comes from, because like that's how we were brought up. Um, that, you know, making mistake, you know, our parents tell us, hey, make a mistake, and then especially, you know, depending on who your parent, your dad, or how you grew up, you know, sometimes our parents can be very hands-on when it comes to our failures.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes some of us get disciplined, so that also adds on to it, that we're afraid to fail, because last time I failed, my dad or my mom, you know,
Yeah.
disciplined me. Um, but yeah, that's something I want people to hear, like, hey, it's okay to fail, because like,
Yeah, it is. And it's normal. It's fine.
it's
And
a
I
yeah,
don't,
yeah, it's a normal thing. Like you say, it's normal. It happens to all of us.
yeah, it happens. And you can't always just be perfect all the time. You know, you have to fail to know who you are and find yourself.
Yeah, and also, and I know a lot of times we grow up, and I know we look at our parents, and then I remember I had a conversation with one of my friends that did a podcast a long time ago, that said that, you know, if, you know, my parents always try to portray this perfect image when they try to raise me. So I always thought that my parents are perfect, and so I can't be perfect.
Yeah.
But she said that growing up now, now she has a child now, and she said that when she has a child, I'm gonna make sure that when I raise my child, I'll tell them about my failures. Hey, you know, I made mistakes too, to let
Yeah.
them know that, to see that, you know, as much as we put our parents in a pedestal, but sometimes we kind of like think that we worship our parents to the point that we feel like that we can't fail our parents.
Yeah.
And then when you do fail, which is, and then of course it's gonna eventually happen one day, where you are gonna fail at something. You will we all
Mm.
fail and disappoint our parents at some point in time in our lives. Um,
Yeah.
but to let you know that it's okay, because I like this. I feel like that's part of the journey in life. Right? You know, I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't make all those mistakes.
Mm.
Uh, I'm not proud of the decision. I'm not proud of the decisions I made. I made some bad decisions.
Yeah.
You know, I've made some stupid decisions in my life. But I'm also not ashamed of my mistakes, because
Yeah.
if I didn't go through if that mistake didn't happen, then I wouldn't have adjusted and gone a different
Yeah.
path in life, to where I'm at today. Yeah, so that's cool. So I think the last thing I just want to just want to dive into, uh, before we end this podcast, because, you know, we've been rolling, we've been on fire for a long time now.
I know. Tell me about it.
I do kind of want to talk about, like, something that's really prevalent in our community, is like mental health. I want to ask your opinion on it and your experience on it, because I feel like you know, because like everything you said so far, being true to yourself, uh, finding yourself, being happy. I feel like all it just comes down to like mental health, taking care of your mental health. So,
Mm.
and I know mental health is something that's not really discussed, or sometimes seen as taboo within our Tongan culture, Polynesian culture. It's not something that we talk about a lot, because I know as Polynesians, we kind of we don't talk we keep things in. We don't really talk about what
Yeah.
we go through.
Yeah.
We don't want, you know, we don't want to be seen as imperfect, so we kind of hold all the things that we go through in. So I want to talk about it. You know, as you when you were working on yourself to find yourself in your own journey? Did you, number one, what was your experience with mental health growing up? Were you aware of it? Did you know about it? And especially when you went through it? And number two, what were the things that you went through, and then what did you do to overcome it?
Oh, okay. So growing up, so when I was younger in Tonga, mental health is not really talked about. I had no clue what mental health was.
Yeah, we don't. No one does.
Yeah, so I didn't really know about mental health. But I think the sad part is, I think, so I don't know if you know about, like, Auckland has one of the most highest suicide rates in the world. New Zealand has one of the most highest suicide rates.
Yeah. No, it's actually. I remember I read an article in America because I was doing my research on mental health, and then I read an article. I came across an article in America. It said that, New Zealand has the highest suicide rate from 15 to 20 to 21 or something. So it's like the teenage years.
Yeah.
It's number one in the world compared to all the other countries. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's quite high. It's very high, actually. So the sad part is, in high school, I didn't know much about mental health at all in high school. I think going into my workplace actually made me aware of that mental health actually exists, because we do have, like, Mental Health Awareness Week and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But honestly, growing up, I never really knew about what mental health was. I think back then, mental health for me would mean someone that's, like, crazy. Just like, like a crazy person that is, like, homeless or something like that. Like, nothing to do with, like, what we can do about it, or other alternatives. Like, I had no clue about it until I think even at uni, like, at university here, I didn't hear much about it either. Like, I'd hear about, like, a lot of, like, friends and their close family and friends, like, taking their own lives, suicide and things like that. Like, I'd hear it, like, it'll always be around me, but I never actually knew exactly what mental health was. Like, I knew there was, like even family violence here in New Zealand is quite bad. Family violence, and then we have suicide rates alone, that's quite high as well. And with just that happening around me, and me not having a good knowledge of mental health and things like that, is actually a huge worry. Like, we should be worried that we're not told or educated enough, because it's not spoken about enough. But for me, like, I started hearing more about mental health when I started working, to be honest, which was, like, after uni, after I graduated. And we'll have to complete these, like, courses, and just that, like, but also just working and having things on the side. I noticed that I wasn't all there. Like, I needed to have some me time. Like, I didn't feel like I was myself, only because, like, I'd work, and then I'd come home to my mum, or, like, I'd go to the hospital to my mum, and just not having the right balance. And then I'd talk to my manager about just not feeling like I'm not feeling like myself, especially with everything happening at home. And she'll and then she would talk about mental health and just being aware of it, and what the triggers, and, like, what you need to do if you're not feeling well, or if you're, like, feeling sad or feeling depressed. That's honestly the first the first time I've like ever heard about
Yeah.
like mental health and
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah, which is really sad. But now that you brought that up, so because America's different. You guys don't have ministries and stuff, right? Like government jobs or
Have
anything
what?
like that.
Have what?
Government jobs or anything like you guys don't have ministries and stuff, right?
That's what you mean government positions and jobs?
No, like ministries, like Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Education. Do you
Yeah,
guys?
yeah. We
Oh,
have
you
that.
guys do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so because I work under the Ministry of Justice, so it's funny that you brought that up because I'm actually so I was like, we're doing a pilot for our youth out in South Auckland. So we're piloting, so we're doing a youth court pilot to have their fines, because that's what I specialize in, to have their fines and them just basically taken out of the system. And it's the age group we're targeting is from 14 to 18, which is pretty cool because also that's, you know, the ages where the suicide rates are quite high as well. So for that special project from my ministry, I feel like that helps a lot with, like, you know, balancing mental health and just getting people out of the system, the you know, getting into that side of things, like, you know, violence and like prison, and, you know, getting into the whole, because once you're in the system with us, it's, you're in the system, you know, the chances of you getting out is like 0 to none.
Yeah.
So for me, you know, being selected to pilot this youth court thing for South Auckland, you know, is a huge deal, especially for like our young brown Pacifica communities that's growing up here. I'm sorry, Will, I don't know if you know what South Auckland is.
No,
Tell?
it's I know,
Yeah.
I heard of Auckland. I heard of Auckland.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so South Auckland, we do have like quite a few. So like a lot of brown families are based there. I grew up there, South Auckland. So that's where our youth court program is based. So we're targeting that whole area.
Okay.
So that's what the project is for. So hopefully, if the piloting goes well and it works out, you know, I'm happy like to help our brown youth. You know, I'm happy to help them get out of the system before they even join, or like before they even get into it, is basically the purpose of our project. So that's, yeah, I'm excited about that as well. So
Yeah.
different, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's very empowering that you're doing that. You know, to give back and help, especially with, you know, in especially the amount of suicides that happen in New Zealand. It's staggering. You know, it's
Yeah.
like it's all. I mean, suicide, and that's always sad to see, no matter where it is. But just to see that within in New Zealand Polynesian community, that's sad.
Yeah.
Do you for you, like I want to ask you, is like, did you ever go through your own mental health experiences yourself? Did you ever go through anything yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I said, like I think when I think I noticed that I need to look after my well-being when my mom got sick.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, that's when I noticed that I need to like look after myself, because I wasn't coping emotionally. Like I wasn't all there. I was always off edge. Like I was always like I wasn't happy. I
Yeah.
was always like, yeah, like I wouldn't say depressed, but I would say that I was more lost, and just
Yeah.
I needed support, but I didn't
Okay.
know how to ask for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know how to ask for it. And so, I'd go into work, and then I'd speak to my manager, and then, I'd finally understand that I'm actually not coping with mental health. And it's okay. That's okay. If you're not coping, you need to speak to someone to see, what support you can get. And with that support, it's okay to, and for us Polynesians, I understand sometimes that, asking for a handout or like asking for help is not exactly easy, for us to say. But I think when she did get sick and I wasn't coping with balancing my life, and her, because remember I hadn't really lived with my parents for a while.
Yeah.
And just having her back and her being sick was like, yeah, a big deal. But I think you have to find your triggers and your support system in order for you to be able to go through that and, just have that peace of mind to have that balance and have that, what's it called? Just for you to have that peace of mind, I guess, and just talk about it, empowering people through support, just talking, just talking and seeing if they're okay is a big deal. Well, it actually helped me. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's something that a lot of Polynesians can relate to is asking for help. That's one of the
Yeah.
hardest things, because
Yeah.
as Polynesians we always try to keep our images, keep the image.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. But like you said, I love what you said. It's everybody out there going through mental health. Like it's okay not to be okay. It's a natural thing. We're all gonna go through moments of sadness. I think but that's why I think it's very important to do your research because we're all gonna feel these emotions like anxiety, fear, depression, sadness. We all gonna feel these emotions. But I think like if you do your research, like what separates depression from sadness is like the length of time you are sad. So if you're just going through it, if you had a bad day, that's normal. That's not
Yeah.
that's normal. That's normal. If you have a bad day at work, bad day with your
Yeah.
partner or whatever with life, it's just that's normal. But if you wake up and you just immediately sad and you don't feel anything, regardless of what's happening outside, but even if you are good things are happening to you, but you still can't find any kind of feeling to feel happy, but you're still sad or still depressed, and that happens for a long period of time. That's how they define depression is I think in America, I think it's like they said it's a week. Like if you feel that way for a week and nonstop, then that can be defined as like clinical depression. But I don't know if it's I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
but if you just but we all go through phases, and sometimes the hardest thing to do is when you go through these stages is asking for help. But I always encourage people to ask for help because there's always someone out there professionally, or go seek a professional. But if you're not, then just go find somebody that they'll take some time to listen to you, because I know there's always somebody out there that will definitely need help. Because I feel because I think with suicide, when people commit suicide, it's like they get to a point in a time in their life where they feel like there's no one else in the world that cares, that matters, and then they take that step. But there's always somebody out there. That's why I encourage people always seek help, because someone will help you out there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, thanks for sharing. Yeah, I think we've got to the end to the end of the podcast. Thank you. Thank you. Just want to say first and foremost, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for having the courage to share your story. Just to put everyone out there, it's not easy to talk up, to be vulnerable, to open up yourself and to share your story. It takes a lot of courage for somebody to do that. But also, I always tell people, it also takes a lot of confidence and self-love for people to be confident in their own story, because this is, I feel like for me, how I find my confidence. People always ask me that question, like, man, how are you so confident, man? How are you so positive? And I always tell them, look, hey, stop hyping me up. I'm not that great. I'm a normal man. I make mistakes. I have flaws too. But I always tell people the reason why I'm so confident in myself, because I'm open about everything that's happened to me, and I don't hide anything. Yeah. Because I know it's different for everybody. You're gonna go through your own self-love process, but I feel like for me, once I just accepted who I am, and being true to myself, and accepted my life and what happened to me, and being open about it. I think one of my favorite quotes is like, "There's nothing can hurt you if, like you said, there's no enemy. If you conquer the enemy within you, then there's no enemy that can hurt you. If that makes sense." So for me, it's like there's not.
Yes.
People, that's fine. That I don't know, people's judgments, criticisms, the world. There's literally nothing can faze me, because I already accepted what happened to me, and I embraced it, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. All the good days and all the bad days, all the failures. Yeah. So I just always encourage. That's why I always encourage people like to learn to embrace their past, embrace what happened to them. And I don't know, sometimes it can be harder for other people, because some people have the worst than others, and I don't know, a lot of you guys out there have gone through very traumatic experiences, and I have never walked a day in your shoes. But there's a power when you embrace and share your story. So thank you so much again for sharing your story. I know there's a lot of people.
Sorry, I'm just charging my laptop.
No, you're fine.
Oh no, sorry. My laptop was about to die, so I was like running to the charger. Yeah,
you're good. Don't worry, I'll keep it entertained for you while you charge your laptop.
No, you're fine.
But yeah, so I know. Thank you for sharing your story, because I know there was a lot of people that be watching this, and especially for Polynesian women. A lot of the things you talked about, I definitely know a lot of people will resonate and will relate to what you said. And I know for a fact that you impacted somebody today. I know that for a fact. You impacted somebody today by doing this. But the one thing I want to ask you, just the one thing I always ask all my guests on my show right before we leave, I just want to ask you, can you just finish this off with some final thoughts? Just share some words of wisdom, advice, everybody out there, after you sharing your life story, after all the things that you've gone through in your life, and being the woman you are today. Just some final words of wisdom, advice you want to leave for everybody before we close this, wrap this podcast up.
I think I just want to say, firstly, I just want to say thank you so much for, giving me this time to share, my life story. And I think we need more Polynesians, out here in the podcast world. You should give them some tips. But honestly, but I think just, with everything we've talked about, like, I hope that, if anyone's watching or anything, at the end of the day, just be happy, and I don't think that's said enough. Like, just live a happy life, and if you're happy, that's all that matters. We can say all these things, or people can say all these things, but just, just be happy and find your happiness, and just live your best life and be happy. Find your happiness.
Yep. There you go. Words of wisdom. Just live your best life and be happy. That's the magic formula. All right. So, thank you guys. Thank you for watching. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and I'm going to talk to you right after. Give me 1 second. Oops.